Looking to get started in PE? Check out the masculinehealthsolutions.com ebook available now titled How to Get a Bigger Penis. All right, so all you guys looking to make gains in the male enhancement, penis enlargement, penis enhancement realm, this book is for you. And if you're a beginner, this is just the book you may have been looking for. So be sure to check it out at masculinehealthsolutions.com. The link is in the description below. Again, the book is titled How to Make Your Penis Bigger, and it will offer you all the knowledge and know-how that you need to get started on your PE journey. All right, without any further ado, let's jump on in. What is going on, gentlemen? Welcome to another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. I hope you guys are doing fantastic, and I hope you guys are doing good. I hope that this day be a fantastic day and that you can make all kinds of gains in whatever area of your life you're looking to make gains in. So, with that being said, I was honored in having Dr. Ganz Ferrance on the podcast today. Now, Dr. Ganz is no slouch when it comes to helping people and coaching them to really figuring out their life. So much that he actually wrote a book on it. That's right. It's called the MeFactor. Don't worry, I got it, man, in the description below. So you can totally read about it. He went through some stress in his life and he realized like, hey, man, I got a Ph.D. in counseling psychology and development and educational psychology from the Andrews University in Michigan. How come me, a psychologist, is struggling with life? And he found out that even for himself, he needed coaching, he needed to figure stuff out. And he basically wrote down the system that allowed him to operate stress-free, man, just in a way where he can get the most out of his life. And he found that he could actually apply this to all the people that he was seeing, right? So all his clients were benefiting from this, and they told him, dude, why don't you write a book? So he did, and it's a fantastic book, and that's what we really got into discussing today, amongst many other things that will obviously benefit you, the listener, and anybody who's looking to really, develop themselves mentally, because I think that's one of the things that we as men suppress for the most part, and it's something that we shouldn't, but we do. I know I do all the time, and we talked about how work and all that kind of good stuff, men, we just tend to suppress it. So, talking a little bit more about Dr. Ganz, he is truly a master at showing people in high-stress occupations no-nonsense, practical strategies to stay focused, make healthy decisions under pressure, and boost communication skills to reduce conflict during difficult situations. Known for working with the toughest of the tough, including hardened oil and gas workers, stressed-out law enforcement officers, battle-tested CEOs, and entrepreneurs, specializing in high-stress industries, including first responders, healthcare executives, and more. And again, he got his Ph.D. in counseling psychology and M.A. in developmental and educational psychology from the Andrews University in Michigan. So like I said before, he's lived it, he's done it, and he's working every single day to help people really, really better their lives. So now I was really appreciative. He came on the show, he killed it. And his book, again, is included in the description below. It is called The MeFactor. And again, guys, if you guys want to reach out to him, check out AskDrGans.com. All right, but without any further ado, enough of my yapping. Let's jump on in and see how you can benefit from this podcast, because there's a whole bunch of nuggets and a whole bunch of knowledge bombs full of wisdom that you could definitely get some out of. All right, enough of me yapping. Let's jump on in. What is going on, gentlemen? Welcome. And ladies. I know it's a smaller demographic, but what's going on, ladies, as well. Welcome to another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. Today, I am joined by none other than Dr. Ganz Ferrance. Dr. Ganz, how are you today, sir?
I'm great. So good to be here, CJ. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, it's an honor having you here. And I see that you got the MeFactor as your background. So that's
Yes.
kind of where I want to start off with. What inspired you to write the MeFactor book?
Wow. Yeah. So for me, it was my own manual for how I deal with stress and particularly managing burnout and also helping me to have the appropriate boundaries to have healthier relationships and be decent at work. Right. This whole thing came out of me burning myself out really bad a couple times actually, and just being that go-to guy for everybody. I was early in my career, and I was a go-to guy for my family. My wife and I didn't have kids yet, but I was just working really hard, and just I worked myself into the ground, and I realized that okay, I was having health issues. I was having really difficult times with my wife as well, but also other relationships. And so I realized I needed something else, and I couldn't actually trust myself in the moment to figure out what I needed to do. So I needed a system, like rules and regulations, policies and procedures that I could follow on a regular basis to help me stay balanced, but also to help me to know how to answer certain questions, and when I should say yes to helping somebody and when I should say no. I need to, in this case, put my own mask on first before I help anybody else, right? And
100%.
yeah, so that's where it came from. And then as I was working with it, I did a recording at first. And I listened to the recording when I was driving back and forth. I started sharing it with my clients, sharing certain aspects of my clients. And I recognized that the majority of the people I was seeing, like I'm talking about 98% of them, had some piece of this missing,
Yeah.
so that they didn't have the full experience, right? So I started teaching it, and people said, oh, this is great. You should write a book. And so I wrote a book, and now we got a book, right? How that worked.
But it's kind of, you know what, sometimes I feel like it always stems from that organic kind of like inciting incident where you're like, hey, man, I just realized that everybody else has this issue. People keep asking me. I
Yeah.
might as well write this down.
Yeah. Well, they say what we think is the most unique about us is often the most universal about us, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people have similar stories or similar issues. And as I've been sharing this, and the book is written to men, but the concept works, across the board for everybody, right? It's
Yeah.
just, and we kind of need something that's kind of geared to us because we don't have a lot of that in the self-help world. There's just a lot of stuff that's either general or very female focused. And
Yeah.
so we just wrote something for dudes, right? Easier for them to understand and digest. But yeah, it's like many, when you really look at it, most of us can understand some of the experiences somebody else is having at some level.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing too. It's kind of relatable because you talked about being stressed out, kids weren't here yet. And I know
Mhm.
what it's like to kind of take on too much responsibility. So
Mhm.
going back to, the me factor, one thing that kind of caught my attention from that, now that I was kind of processing that in my mind, was what was one of the most common denominators you were finding across the board for guys that was just like, hey, this is a big issue. It keeps popping up, and I got to put this in my book.
Well, yeah. So I really found a few things. One is that so with guys, well, there are a few things around communication with guys, but also how our brain works. And I worked in the oil patch for quite a while. I was working with a lot of oil companies, doing psychology for the oil companies, their workers, and something really popped out at me for guys especially. Their lives will be falling apart. Like, I mean, their kids not talking to them, they're in the middle of
Yeah.
divorce, their health's falling apart, they're using alcohol and drugs or whatever. They'll still show up to work and no one will have an idea. Everybody will think everything's fine. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, I
work
know
is
that.
the last place that things like problems will show up for most guys, because that's kind of who we are. We're like, no, I got to soldier on. This is my job. This is my identity sometimes, right? That's not the right way to go, but sometimes we think that, right? I got to feed the family. I got to do all this other stuff. So there's a lot of societal pressure, and I think self-imposed pressure for us to work through certain things and work in a certain way. And generally what that means is there's a lack of self-care, there's a lack of personal maintenance. And the same guy who's falling apart will make sure his truck or his vehicle is up to par, making sure he's doing all the timely oil changes, rotating the tires, doing all this. We treat our stuff better than we treat ourselves, especially as guys. But one of the big things from the book is you are your instrument, you are your tool to help you interact with this life. And if your tool is not sharp, If your tool is not in good working order, just like your vehicle, you're not going to get very good use out of it. And then you suffer, but everybody around you suffer, and everything that you're trying to, work towards, that suffers as well when we're not in good working order.
100%. Because it's funny that you mentioned that too. I know that, I mean, for myself, sometimes I find that, going to work is almost freeing in a way. In that it's almost like I have less like I know the responsibility, I know what's required of me.
Yes.
And it's almost like it's almost easier to just go and do that, in a weird way, where it's just like, what, I go, I check off all the boxes, and then when you're done, you go home and then you can relax, right? And it's kind of weird because it's like I almost prefer sometimes the mundane versus variety,
Well, no, you're right on the money, because and this is for everybody, not just for guys, but there is a sense of peace that we get from structure and routine. We need both. We need some variety, because it can get boring after a while, right? But we do have that. I know. I'll be like, especially Christmas. I take a couple weeks off at Christmas because I want to be with the kids, and my wife's off and stuff like that. And so I know after a week or so, it's like, man, I can't wait to get back into routine. Start going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, working out at the same time, right? And just that sense of structure is quite calming. And I do a lot of work with my coaching practice. I do a lot of work with folks that are selling their businesses or retiring or whatever. And this is one of the things I make sure that they understand, that when you sell your business or you retire, you now have to create your own structure, because it's not built into the system anymore. It's like many of us have had to figure out how to work at home during the pandemic. And that was a huge stress for people, right? It's like, oh, the kids and got to wash the dishes, and right, you know what I mean? And because there's no routine, it's not built in. So we have to consciously and deliberately establish that. So you're absolutely right. When you go to work, there's like, oh, okay. Okay, I'm peaceful now. Now I know what I need to do. Okay, here's what I need to do to work down the checklist. Okay, good. I accomplished something. Now I can move on, right?
Or it just kind of, you go about your day after you've done that, and it's almost like it's kind of weird because it starts to get anchored in. But at the same time, I will find that even certain people, like, I'm not a psychologist, yet I had to talk to a dude who was having a breakdown because he was, depressed. And he's like, yo, man, like, he's like, honestly, I'm just done with everything. I'm done with this. And I read on your website how you mentioned that, depression is going to cost Canada, the government of Canada, more money than they can even even know, that they can even fathom, right?
Yeah.
And I see that as well, where it's kind of like, there's two sides to that coin. And I know we mentioned variety, but at the same time, we see that where it's just like, I've had enough. And I've kind of gotten to that point where it's just like, I'm done. How do you help men kind of avoid that and just kind of find that balance?
Right. Well, that is the right word. It's balance, right? I mean, we need both. We need the structure, the routine, and we need novelty. We need newness, right?
Yeah.
So in like the structure, the system, the MeFactor system, it is a whole system of looking at, okay, what are the important things in your life? How do you put them in the right order? How do you keep everything sort of functioning well and feeding the right pieces of the system? And then what do you put into your life to give you that balance? What do you put into your life on a regular basis, usually daily, but at least weekly, where you're getting that balance, where you have that structure, you have that routine, you know where you're going, you can relax, you don't have to think your way through everything, but at the same time you have that sense of newness, that sense of excitement, and, oh, cool, I get to do this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is a way to do that. And I think just having the understanding, the mindset that we need both is a good starting point. So for example, those of us who are working from home or whatever it is, we need to say, okay, here are my office hours. This is when I'm going to work. This is when I'm going to stop working. This is the stuff I'm going to wear when I'm working. This is stuff I'm going to wear when I'm not working, right? I had the same conversation with one of my coaching clients today about establishing what this looks like, because this person works a fair bit in the office. Actually, they run a clinic, and then they also take some work home and do some work in the evenings once in a while. And just having that okay, this is the thing I'm going to wear when I'm working, now puts your head in that routine mode. Okay, now I know what I need to do. I'm not distracted. I don't I'm thinking about doing the dishes while I should be working or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then when you take that off, it's like, okay, now I'm in home mode, and now I'm going to carry on with that. So you have that structure and that routine, and then you build in on a regular basis newness, right? So like, I would like to maybe have this experience. Well, there's a new movie coming out. I want to go see this movie, but I'm going to go to a different theater than I usually go to because I just want a different experience, right? Sometimes it can be as simple as, when I put my pants on, I go right leg, left leg. Let's see what happens. I go left leg, right leg, and I don't fall over, right? But just anything that breaks up the mundane.
Yeah.
Actually, what it does is it creates growth in your brain, which stimulates serotonin, which is the happy chemical in your brain, and helps you to focus, helps you to feel good, and gives you that little lift. So there are little techniques and strategies that men can use to bring both into their lives and have the best of both worlds.
Interesting. And another thing that now you talked about neural pathways and that, one thing that I was kind of thinking about when you said that in introducing newness, how important would it be to have a hobby or something that you can do as a dude, like, a project or something?
Extremely important, particularly with the pandemic and everything we've just been through. We need stuff that is not always like practical. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't always have to be like making money or making a difference or whatever. It can just be for fun. We need something that's just for fun sometimes. But when we can have a hobby that that has this sense of progression to it, like I don't know, I was watching a movie one time, and I think it was Ryan Reynolds was in the movie, right? And he was building this dugout canoe. So he had this big log, and he had this pickaxe, and he was just basically hauling out this canoe, right?
Yeah.
And so, he would work on this for years, but you could see every time he did it, he'd make a little more of a dent. It might look a little more like a canoe and that sort of thing, right? Having a hobby really helps us to avoid boredom. So, when we feel like we need a break, we can go and work our hobby. It helps us to have that sense of a break. So we know that if we do something for too long, we get less efficient at what we do. So we put more in and we get less back. So giving yourself a break helps you go and be more efficient when you go back. So that's a good thing. But then that sense of progression also helps us, especially in times of uncertainty, when we're having stress and different things like that. It gives us a sense of autonomy and a sense of control. And knowing that I can make a dent in this log, or I can build this thing, or paint this picture, or whatever it is, play this piece of music, it helps me to feel more in control of my life. And it fills that need for me so that I can manage the uncertainty that I may have in some other part, or the stressful part in this other part of my life, so it doesn't kind of bleed in and take over. And then it helps me, because I'm feeling autonomous, I'm feeling strong in my own power. I don't have to try to extract that from other people and bully them. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have weird relationships with people, because I'm getting my own needs met in a healthy way this way.
100%. I mean, for me, it's kind of like I discovered that as a kid, and like I started working out, obviously, because life was kind of hard. And I'm like, well, if I don't get bigger, I'm gonna keep getting my ass kicked. So, but the one thing that I always draw, and the biggest thing that I always take away from that, is it taught me discipline, but it taught me the importance of progressive overload. And I kind of use that for everything in life now. And I just find that I'm like, it's a very, very simple thing. You go and do, you lift weights or whatever, your muscles get bigger, you get stronger, you get whatever your goal is, you get more shredded, right? And I just find that very simple concept of you go, you work on something, you feel great after you're done, you get all those great chemicals, you get dopamine, feel fantastic, you sleep better, you feel healthier. But it always kind of comes back to that I got to be working on something. And like you said, and with Ryan Reynolds building that, logboat, it's that little bit of I move forward today.
Exactly. Yeah, I've moved forward today. My life I'm not just on the rat race, the rat wheel, the treadmill, right? I actually can see some movement.
Yeah.
One of the things that I tell my folks, right, is that a lot of times people are working towards something, and they look at where the goal is, whatever the goal is, as man, when am I ever going to get there? Look how far away it is. Right? I said, I get that. But what happens if you turn around and look the other way, look backwards, and look at how far you've been able to come? right?
That's
And then you can see
huge.
the progress.
Yeah.
Because we have been able to go, most of us have been able to go forward and learn some stuff, even this, like these kind of crazy times we've had, right? We've been able to learn some things, and when we can look back and we can celebrate what we've done, when we can recognize and appreciate our work and our forward movement, that also gives us a lift. That helps us to feel good. And what I tell people is celebration is the fuel for future success, right? The
Yeah.
celebration is a fuel for future success. And so when you're doing that, it really does help you have that energy to go forward. But I also love, like, particularly with weights and progressive overload concept, every time you stretch a little bit,
Yeah.
you're not the same. You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah.
your life gets bigger, right? And so yes, I can go beyond my comfort zone a little bit, and all of a sudden my comfort zone gets bigger. And then I go a little bit
Exactly.
beyond my comfort zone. The next time my comfort zone gets bigger. And after a while, my comfort zone's so huge, I don't stress about much, right? It's just more stuff. It's like, okay, I get to practice this now. This is cool.
100%. And that's kind of like, I find that it just carries over into, like, in the same way you're talking about how the stress kind of bleeds over into your life when you're not doing, you're stagnant, you're just sitting there. I kind of find that the positive things you can take from whatever it is that you are also involved in, like outside of work or whatever it is that you're truly passionate about, that also carries over into, every aspect of your life, but in a positive way. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of helps to balance things out, and it helps to make those unfavorable times a little bit more okay, a little bit more tolerable, where it's just like that
100%.
traction, you don't feel it as being that bad anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you talked about the idea of balance, right? And I like to tell people to think about it like a happy bank, right?
Yeah.
So just like your bank account, you can have lots of money in there, and if you have to make a few withdrawals, okay, all right, no problem. I got lots. I noticed it was gone, but yeah, it was minimal, right? But if you're at zero or in the overdraft, it's like, yeah, that $10 coming out, it's like, oh, the pain, right? And so, you want to make sure you're putting lots in your happy bank on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Just working out, sleeping regularly is a huge one.
Yeah.
Having healthy people around you, being in solid relationships with healthy people that are not sucking your soul, right?
Yeah.
Um, a lot of different things like that. When you can feel that sense of autonomy, you're filling up, you're putting deposits in the happy bank. And so when stuff comes, different challenges come up, it's like, all right, okay, I can roll with this. Yeah, I got the hit, but I can still get up and I can still move, right? And that in
100%.
itself, when you celebrate that, that helps you to feel more confident and builds your resilience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And kind of going back to the book now, because
Mhm.
I love where we're going with this, but now it kind of made me think, what's the biggest takeaway you want people to take from the
Mhm.
me factor? What's the biggest thing you're like, hey, you know what? This is the concept that's kind of like, this is the root, this is the base, this is the foundation. This is what you gotta like really import into your life.
So this is the top of the book right here, right? And basically it says the most important question you could ever ask: is this working for me? You know, and I think that is the core to the book. Is this working for me? So that question helps me to understand that I'm in charge of my life. I
Yeah.
don't have to go with some imagined rule book of how my life is supposed to go, which a lot of people run by, or some preconditioning that I got from my parents or school or church or the media or whatever. I don't have to run somebody else's program. I get to choose what makes sense for me at this time. And next, when, tomorrow it might be something different. Let me choose that then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm in charge of my life. I have autonomy over my life. I deserve to be happy. And there's a system, there are ways that are proven that I can do these things and look after myself in such a way that I have energy, that I have resilience towards stress, that I can have healthy relationships. Excuse me, I know where my priorities are. I can do these things. I can be in charge of my life, and I don't have to just have my life look good on paper and still be miserable and pissed off, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't work for me, then it's not going to work. You know,
Gotcha.
I heard a story about, well, actually it's in my book. Andre Agassi, right, the tennis player.
Yeah.
And it's like phenomenal tennis player, but he had different problems, ups and downs with like, relationships and substance abuse and different things like that. Well, I didn't know this, but when I was doing the research, it turns out he didn't like tennis. It's like,
What?
Okay, well, he just happened to be really good at it, right? He happened to be really, really good at it. And so people made him their own sort of personal economy, and they're running this economy, and everybody's, getting money and rich, living off of him. And he didn't like it. And so no wonder he had problems. No wonder there are issues that came up, because he's not living his authentic life, right? And so this is a core of what the MeFactor is all about. It's helping empower you to know that it's just correct. It's actually the only responsible thing to do is live a life that's yours, and not one based on somebody else. And then here are the tools to do it.
That's huge, man. Because even for myself, it's like right now I'm still working 40 hours a week. I may not love my job, but I love this. And it was kind of interesting because you mentioned COVID, you're recalibrating, you're figuring stuff out. And I'm like, maybe I should do this. I just enjoy podcasting. I enjoy writing. I enjoy doing this and the whole fitness side of things, and the personal training that, like, I loved all that. And I mean, I could honestly do that for free. Yet, sometimes, like you said, with Andre Agassi, it's like you got to provide for people, and the people around you are kind of requiring that. And early on, we talked about how most men just kind of soldier on, just keep going about their business because you know what? The money's there and the money's good.
Right.
However, that's kind of like, I think that's probably the biggest key into living an unfulfilled life.
Right.
That's right. And it's interesting too, because I had read that where you're like, if this doesn't work for me, it's not for me. Why am I doing it? And why spend the next 40, 50, 60 years of my life until retirement doing that, until I snap or I crack, or what?
Well, yeah, and it'll show up, right? That discontent will show up in different ways. It might show up internally in terms of just like depression, anxiety, whatever, stress, health issues. It might show up as substance abuse. It might show up externally in like other things, like lashing out at people or having relationships that are inappropriate or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And when you don't know yourself, when you're not aware of who you are, what you want, what you need, and understand that your needs are legitimate, right? How you fill those, that's where you get the problems, right? If you fulfill them in unhealthy ways, that's when you have problems. But your needs themselves are legitimate, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are, let's say in a job, let's say in your situation where it's like, I'd love to do these other things, and I'd also like to eat regularly and keep the lights on, right? So it's like, okay. But now I know that, okay, well, I'm not as fulfilled over here in this job that's paying me, but I do like the pay.
Yeah.
I would like to do more of this over here. So let me do more of this over here, but I'm going to make peace with going to work because I know it serves my purposes for now until I can find another way where I can get paid and do more of what I want. Right now, this provides life for me, and that's okay. And I'm choosing to do this because it works for me. It works that I get to eat, right?
Yeah.
And it also funds this other fun part of my life over here.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we do as humans, especially guys, because there's this almost like a badge of honor for our suffering as men, right? There's like, look what I did. Look what I sacrificed for my career. Look what I sacrificed for my family. This is not the right way to think of this. Okay.
Yeah.
When we have choice, when we feel choice, it's very, very powerful. There's a landmark study that they did in psychology. It's called the button experiment. And the way it worked was they had a bunch of people in a room and they were piping in through speakers, like a lot of just annoying noise, kids crying, destruction, traffic, whatever. They had these folks in this room and they were filling out like tests and puzzles and doing things that they could grade and get a score on. So they ran this for a while, about half an hour or so, and they got an average score of the first group, right? They kicked those guys out. They brought a second group in, same number of people, same noise, same tests. The only difference in the second group was there's a button that they put in the second room where people can hit the button and turn the noise off, right? And so then they looked at the scores of the second group, and the second group did way better than the first group, way better, right? It wasn't even close. And so they said, oh, well, yeah, it makes sense because they were less distracted. But when they actually looked at it, the truth is no one ever hit the button. The noise was exactly the same. Nothing changed. The only change was that they knew that they could make a change. So choice improved their performance exponentially.
Interesting.
Right?
I did not know that.
So what I do when I work with my clients or I do presentations, right? I always help them to see their choices in everything. So in your case, the choice, I am choosing to eat, choosing to go to work. I'm choosing this. I'm not stuck there because I could make the choice to not eat, lose some weight, whatever, right? I can make the choice not to have a stable home. I can make that choice. People make that every day. They live on the street or they do whatever, right? But I would rather do this. And so for now, I can understand this works for me. And now I got a very different experience going to work because I chose to do this. I'm choosing to do feeds something important to me. And now I get to do other things that I also enjoy because this is funding this other part of my life. Does that make sense? It's a little
100%. No, it's
very powerful.
I 100% agree with you because it's funny too. Like you bring up the fact that it is a choice. And I mean, I'm always appreciative. Like I may not love my job. However, I've always been appreciative because I came to it when I was kind of between the crossroads. Like before where I was working, like I said before, I was working like in Alberta, Ontario. I was traveling and my wife's like, you know what, you keep working all over this country, I'm going to leave you. So I'm like, okay, well, I got no choice here. And I was kind of in between jobs at this time. And then I ended up at this job and the pay is good. I mean, the hours suck, the environment sucks, like all that kind of stuff sucks. But you know what? At the end of the day, the pay is good. And I've always kind of respected that about the job. And I always tell people, well, it's my choice to be here. And for other guys here, a lot of guys are immigrants. A lot of guys, some guys went to college and they're just like, well, this actually pays better than, what I was going to do with my degree. So I'm here. And that's the one thing that I've always told people that when they come up to me and they're bitching and moaning about their job, I'm like, you don't have to be here.
Exactly.
You don't have to be here.
That's right. You have choices. Yeah. Totally changes the experience, right? And if you want to change it even further, right? Look for ways to gamify what you're doing, right? So like, okay, how many times can I deal with these difficult workers at work? And how many times can I smile at them, right? How many times can I bring some different energy to the environment and see what happens, right? And then their sort of negative energy, it's like, okay, whatever, it's a challenge. As opposed to eating into your life, right? It's more of, okay, now I get to practice a skill I'm working on. Right? And I get to play with these guys,
100%. Yeah, because it's kind of like you can work on that. And the other thing too, it's kind of, I'm in a leadership role now. And the thing is, it's like, I don't necessarily want to absorb everybody's negative energy. I just don't. So the thing is, it's kind of like, I got to come in there, obviously knowing who I am, what I respect, what boundaries I have. And at the same time, maintain, a positive demeanor because I'm a happy dude, I'm not trying to pick up on that.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to give up on that. And the fact is, I mean, one of the reasons you're happy, I think, is because you have figured out real early that, I enjoy working out. I enjoy doing this. This is good for my body. I feel good when I'm doing it. I like the way the results of it. You have other things in your life, filling that happy bank like we talked about, but that are counterbalancing any kind of negativity or challenges or difficult personalities you might interact with at work, right? And so you are able to keep those boundaries and, maybe you don't think of it as clearly as this, but, you are sort of an anchor or a model for a better way to think, a better way to be.
Interesting.
And when you're conscious of that now, though, it takes on a whole nother meaning when you show up at work and you're happy and everybody else is miserable. It's like, okay, that's you do you. This is who I'm going to be. Maybe some of this will rub off, but it's not my responsibility to make sure it does.
Because no, you're right. And it's funny too, because certain people that are on the same kind of wavelength, I guess, it's almost like we vibe together. And the people that want to be negative, it's almost like they just kind of go over there, and they're almost in their own kind of like vibrationary field or something, like they're just kind of separate. But bringing it back, one thing I wanted to bring up now, because I don't want to focus so much on just avoiding these negative people. I do want to help these negative people. And one of the things that we mentioned before was that if it doesn't feel right, if I don't like it, it's not for me. How do these people find out, hey, what do I really enjoy? And how do I actually start going after it in this life? Because you only got one life. And
Yeah.
how would you instruct these people into like actually finding what they're passionate about?
Yeah, it's got to start small. I find, for me, I was so lost in the role that I was taught to play that I didn't even know what I liked. My psychologist, right? And I've been a psychologist for about 30 years, and I've been in psychology on the other side of the couch, so to speak, for about 30 years as well. I've been a client, right? And so my psychologist was working with me, and he's saying, well, what kind of ice cream do you like? What flavor? I said, I kind of like strawberry. I was like, nah, I think I like pistachio. I was like, no, well, okay, if you say so, right? I was like, no, don't tell me, don't give in. Just, like, what do you like? And so, like, something as little as like, what flavor of ice cream do you like? What kind of shoes feel comfortable for you, right? And this goes back to that question: is this working for me? When you ask that question about little things, then you can start to identify what you actually want and what you actually don't want. And then, knowing that knowing that you have permission to do this, and this is reasonable, responsible, by knowing yourself and loving yourself, you then have the fuel to know and love others more deeply. And if you don't, then you're really just sort of playing a role, and typically you're going to act it out by taking hostages instead of having relationships. Right? And so, it's really responsible to know who you are and what you like, but it starts small. I like this type of music, or even if I don't like this type of music, this song I'm listening to right now, I really enjoyed this song right now in this moment. This feels good, right? And so those little things, giving yourself permission to feel good when you feel good, but also pursuing the things that would likely make you feel good or make you feel happy, or recognizing what your needs are and then going after them in a healthy way that doesn't hurt anybody else, is a way to really get to know yourself. And by doing that, you're clear about, okay, these are the things that I like. This feels good, right? And it's also appropriate then to try out a bunch of different things, because you don't know what you're going to like, right? But also it's nice to know what you don't like. It's like, I tried pistachio ice cream. I don't know. That's not for me. Thank you. Right? I do like pistachio ice cream, but you know what I mean? Just an analogy, right? So just try out different things, but start small. It doesn't have to be like, like I'm going to change where I live or the spouse I'm married to, right? Don't go there yet, right? Start with, your flavor of ice cream, what kind of shoes you like, different things like that.
Interesting. So it's almost like you got to do that intrinsic exploration to really figure out where you truly, or where your real enjoyment really lies.
Absolutely. And your enjoyment, not what other people tell you should be enjoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
lots of us, right? Especially us dudes, right? But we get to usually, well, for younger generations, I think you guys are getting kind of figuring this out a little earlier, so it might be 30s or 40s for you guys, but typically 45, 50, 55, we hit that midlife place, or we have a health crisis or some other crisis, and then we wake up and realize, why am I so miserable, right? How come I'm doing this when they said it should have helped me feel better, and I don't feel any different, I feel worse, right? So it's really asking that, like, being clear about, you get to choose how you want to be in life, and you get to choose what makes you happy, not what should make you happy or what looks good on paper, right?
Interesting. Because I do feel like a lot of guys just kind of peacock and just kind of wear this facade, and they kind of become the facade to the point where it's almost like, I don't know who I am. Right. Like, I've been wearing these clothes for so long that I think, is this who I am? Like, I don't even know who I am, man. Like,
right. Exactly. And everybody's kissing my ass. They're saying, oh man, this is awesome. You're awesome. You're doing this, you're doing that. It's like, yeah, but I can't tell anybody I'm not happy, because then I'd feel disrespectful, or I'd feel ungrateful, or people might say, but so many people would love to be where you are. I get it. And I don't. It's all right if I don't. I want to go over here and do this other thing.
Exactly.
But you're right. We buy our own press clippings, basically. We buy our own, what stuff people say or that we think we should be doing, and we do it for so long we get lulled into thinking that that's who we are, instead
Yeah,
of really, doing the inner exploration to understand who we really are and what we really want.
exactly. And one thing that you had mentioned earlier, and I've been thinking about it, just kind of ruminating in my mind, but the one thing that you said that really stuck out to me was like we have to give ourselves permission.
Yep.
Why do you think is like I've been looking into like, obviously the inner child and how we've been injured. A lot of us we make a lot of our references for the rest of our lives based off of, childhood, which is
Yeah,
an
when we're
awful way
three,
to go about
5.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But why do you think so many of us still like why don't we give ourselves the permission to have what we really want? Like what are the underlying factors to that?
Well, yeah, I think the world has done a really good job of having us believe that somebody else knows better than us. And listen, when we're kids, that is true. Our parents they have more time on earth than we do. So they
Yeah.
have more experience, and they if we have reasonably healthy parents, they're looking out for us, helping us to stay alive and learn skills that we need for adulthood, right?
Mhm.
Um, but that whole scenario is kind of done, or it's starting to end around like 13, 15, somewhere in there, where the parents now become consultants, right? That's really their role. They still
Yeah.
have to keep us alive, right? But in terms of telling us what to do, it's more like, let me tell you what I think is going to work for you, but you have to figure this out. And I'm giving you this information because hopefully it'll help you navigate life better, right?
Yeah.
But either we can hang on to that, but I think there's lots of um structures in our society, in our culture, that tell us that we need to have permission to do certain things. Whether you've gone to church, whether you're a church going person, or you're an atheist, Western culture is built on the Judeo-Christian ethic, right? This idea, this philosophy that's there, and this idea that if you do the right stuff, you get saved, you go to heaven. If you don't, then you're damned, you go to hell, right? And so
Yeah.
that pervades a lot of our upbringing, a lot of the way we look at things. And so there's a sense that we have to be good people. We have to do all these things in order to deserve the right to be happy, deserve the right to take a break, deserve the right to blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah.
The truth is that's not the case. You If you really think about it, does your car have to take you to its destination in order to deserve fuel,
No.
right? Doesn't even
No.
make sense when I
It's
ask it
like
that, right? No, you put fuel in the car so you can get to your destination.
yeah.
And so it works backwards. If you can put positive things into your life, if you can put enjoyment, if you can put health, if you can put good relationships, which include being a decent person, right? When you
Yeah.
can be a decent person, be kind to people, help other people out. When you do those things, but because it feeds you, because it fulfills you and makes you happy, all of a sudden now you have fuel to go and do other stuff, right?
Yeah.
The saying, nothing succeeds like success. That's what it is. You start to feel good, you start to feel happy, you do good things that make you feel happy, and you feel happier, and you have more good stuff, you have more energy. It just keeps, you create a virtuous cycle that keeps going. But we've been kind of lulled into this belief that no, it's the other way. You have to deserve it, you have to work, you have to suffer for long enough, or whatever it is, before you're allowed to. And this is why that concept of permission is so, weird, revolutionary, whatever it is, right? Yeah, give yourself permission to feel good, and maybe fuel up before you go on the drive, right?
Yeah.
You fuel up before you go on the journey, and then on the way, fuel up a few times too, right? While you're on the journey, fuel up as well. Don't wait till you get to the end, then say, okay, well, I made it, now I can fuel up, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of us almost just in general, like the one thing that I'll see, like people that get into the gym and oftentimes, like as a trainer, when I be coaching clients like online and that, and I'd be like, don't focus on your end result just yet. You got to focus on, step one, get one foot in front of the other and work on that, get your nutrition on point and enjoy the little things because ultimately that big 6 month goal, I mean, it may seem like it's on a pedestal now, but eventually it will come. But you have
Mhm.
to celebrate the little wins first because if you don't, you're just going to be like, I'm never going to get there. And then people just, self-sabotage. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where that cycle always kind of just seems to pop up again. How do you keep people from actually self-sabotaging when they don't see those little wins? How do you kind of veer them back onto the journey and be like, hey man, we need some more fuel?
Yeah. No, well, part of what it is understanding that, like we talked about earlier, celebration is the fuel for success. So every little thing that you can celebrate that looks even remotely like the right thing, yeah, awesome. Way to go. You know what I mean? Like, do something. You don't necessarily have to throw yourself a parade every time you do a push-up, right? But you can still acknowledge that, hey, I did one extra push-up that I did before. It's like, this is awesome. I'm going the right direction. Also understanding the nature of goals. Like there's a huge misunderstanding around goals, I find. A goal, well, first of all, the root of the word goal is not what people think. It's actually, the root of it is barrier. Okay.
Interesting.
And so we think of it, when we hear barrier, we think of something that stops us from moving forward. But no, it's not a barrier this way. It's more like a barrier on the sides. So it's like a channel, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So a goal is a tool, and that's all it is. Most goals, they've done studies, they say like 2/3 of goals are not met. So once you set a goal, understand that you're more likely to not make it than you are to make it. And so, you're kind of setting you up for stress and a hard time if you think you must meet this goal in order to be successful. But if you see the goal as something that's there to channel your energy in a certain direction, if you see the goal as something that's a tool to help you go along this path, then it doesn't matter if you hit it or not, right? Because it's served its purpose. It's helped to keep your energy aligned, so you're going down a certain path. And that's I think the appropriate use of goals, so that you can, you could be further ahead than where you started, right? That's the biggest thing.
Interesting.
Right?
No, because I mean, now that you explain it to me like that, I kind of thought of I don't know if you ever gone bowling. I'm pretty sure you have, but you ever think of the bumpers that come up, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, let's say you're the bowling ball and you want to reach that end goal, which is the pins. If you set little goals, it's almost like you set little bumpers that are going to keep you from going down the ditch.
Yes.
And that's kind of the way I looked at it immediately, where I'm like, you're right. It is a tool. It's meant to help. It's meant to actually help you reach that end goal, but you prevent yourself from failing by setting up little ones.
Yeah. And celebrating the little ones, celebrating the little wins, and literally celebrating the fact that, like, okay, I was 10 minutes late for my class every day. Now I'm only 9 minutes late. Yay, I win, right? I mean, it can be of that small. I'm less bad. And then you can celebrate that, because that starts to move you forward.
No, 100%. That's, man, totally blew my mind. Because I mean, barrier at first, I was like, okay, this is how dumb I am, I guess. Because I was like, you got to bust through the first barrier to get to the next barrier. You got to go full juggernaut and just.
But see, this is the mindset. But as a trainer, you probably know that, yes, you want to push your body, but if you push your body too hard, you're going to break your body.
That too,
right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, you want to challenge yourself to do a little more, but there's a window. There's a window where you challenge yourself and you're going to get results. But if you go too hard, you're going to injure yourself and you're going to go backwards.
100%.
And so there's not this idea of gutting it out and nose to the grindstone, shoulder to the plow, head down, ass up, keep going, right?
Yeah.
That I know it's like in our culture, and it's very much in guy culture and in kind of general media. We see that kind of Batman, Superman kind of philosophy. I'm gonna go it alone, push through. I can survive it no matter what. But that's not realistic. I mean, if you're in war and something or an animal's trying to eat you, you know what I mean? Yes, you have to fight or do whatever you need to do to survive, but it's a good tool in that moment or for that specific type of situation. But that's not a great way of life. And it's definitely not the most appropriate way to move forward in your life. It's far better to gently challenge yourself, push your boundaries, gently nudge them in the right direction. And, after a week, a couple months, whatever, you look back, it's like, holy crap, I didn't realize I could, look how far I've come. I had this experience where when I was working out several years ago now, I was lifting weights, and, I didn't think I was that strong or anything like that. But, after doing it for a while and working out with somebody who was encouraging me, I was like doing like crazy weights that I would never imagine that I could ever lift, right? And it's like, oh, okay, I guess I can lift this now. You know what I mean? But that came from just gently pushing and not like thinking that I had to do this in a week.
Yeah. And it almost seems like because the one thing I'm kind of learning to let go of now, because I was, I believe the whole cultural aspect of, you just got to work your ass off and then you'll make it, but first you got to suffer. And
Yeah.
I really bought into that for a long time until I read a book on flow state. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's called Flow. I can't remember
Yeah.
I can't remember who wrote it, but she was basically talking about how like when you get into it, it's not so much that you're feeling this pain resistance. It's almost like you're just going with the whole flow. You're enjoying it, and you're in this deep concentrated state. Your brain's operating, your body's functioning in a different way, and all of you is immersed into whatever it is that you're trying to do. And in that task, you really find this liberating sense of self and just sense of direction, and everything just kind of makes sense, but there's no resistance. And that's kind of the weird thing too, because like, and she brought up like different things, like obviously in sports, like Michael Jordan, that one game where he couldn't stop nailing threes, where he's just like, I don't know, man. Like he even put his hands up, like,
Right.
I don't know what's happening. And the thing is, I kind of find the success is more geared towards that than it is,
Yeah.
you know, we always think, this guy had to come up from nothing, struggle, struggle, struggle. And then
And
one
now
day
you
he
made
made it,
it. Yeah.
yeah. And it's almost like we have to suffer through like extreme resistance before we can actually enjoy that. And
Yeah.
now I'm kind of see the tide turn a little bit. And, thanks to people like yourself, Dr. Gans, where you're kind of enlightening us to the fact that it doesn't have to be that way,
Yeah.
you know?
There's no virtue in suffering, and you don't have to earn it, right? Because
Yeah.
when you're in flow, when you're in that right state, you are in your optimal state, your high performance state. This is why most people who do anything around sports know this. Your team is struggling, they try to make playoffs, they can't make it, they're super tight, they lose they've lost the ability to make playoffs, but they still have a few games left. All of a sudden they start winning,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't give a shit anymore. It's like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, I don't have to worry about it anymore, I can just relax and have fun. Now they have fun, they're loose, they're doing well, they do amazing stuff now, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of research actually about how we function, and our optimal performance state, or our OPS, comes when we are in that state of flow, that state of the
Yeah.
zone, right? And there are specific things that we can do. Well, I mean, one of the reasons the MeFactor works really well is because when you work it, when you do it, you stay in that zone more of the time, right?
Yeah.
You have the pieces, the nuts and bolts activities or habits that you build that help you stay there or closer to that state more of the time. So your life just kind of functions. It kind of just flows. I had this really powerful experience when I was in university, right? So my first exam was a midterm in physics. Okay. I actually like physics. I enjoy physics. I read it for fun. I did really well in my high school physics, right? So I figured I was going to nail this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I studied, I was prepared, and I did what they told us to do for first year students. Go show up at your classroom early. And that's, for my classroom was a big lecture theater. It was like 500, 600 people in this class, right? This particular section of the class. And so I showed up and I'm calm, I'm ready. And then people started showing up. It's like, oh man, did you read this one? I don't get this. Oh man, this is gonna be such a hard test. And they started freaking out, right?
Yeah.
And so I was calm and I said, well, I'm not freaking out. I wonder why they're freaking out. And then weirdly enough, because I wasn't freaking out, I started to freak out. It's like, maybe I should be freaking out. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I didn't study the right stuff. It seemed really simple to me, right? I really started to put myself in this really overcranked state. By
Yeah.
the time I got into the lecture hall and sat down, I was sweating. My mouth was dry. My hands were shaking, right? They hand out the tests. And there's the way at University of Alberta, what they did was they have a test booklet with an official seal and all this fine print about what's going to happen if you're caught cheating, right? And so it's like, oh my goodness, look at the test. So it's like, how am I ever going to read all this? Really, the test was 4 questions. You open the test booklet and there's 4 questions, and then you'd fill them out and you're good, right? But I was in such a state. I like, by the time I saw the 4 questions, I was panicked. I was like just a mess, right? So
No.
I did the whole thing. I spent the time. I handed my questions. my test answers, I went home, right? So next day they put the put the grades up. I got 25% on this test, right?
What? Oh no.
So, and I didn't get one question right. I got part marks on some of the questions that added up to 25. So I failed the test. I had not even one question I got right.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to drop the class. So a few days later, I'm going home. I'm on the bus, and I put my hands in my pocket in my jacket, and there's this piece of paper, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" So I pull it out, unfold it. It's these 4 questions from the test, right? And so on the bus, didn't prepare, no calculator, nothing. I just thought, okay, let me just figure this out. Answered it in about 3 minutes. Okay. I went home, I checked it, 100%, no problem.
Wow.
Right? I knew it. But my state took me out, took me out of it. Right. So even though I knew it, because I wasn't in that zone, that flow state that you're talking about, my brilliance couldn't show up. I had it, but it was stifled by my state of being, right? So a lot of what I do is help people learn how to manage their state so that shit doesn't happen to them like it did to me.
Ever.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because it's kind of like I was talking about before, is just the people around you, your environment, all these things factor in. And that's kind of why I don't want to say that, I alienate myself, but there are times where I'd rather be by myself than be around other people, because you do pick up on certain people's energy, and it's like sometimes people will go into work and like, oh, it's going to be a stressful day. Well, I'm like, hey, man, I'm off at 2, bro.
Yeah, I'm good.
So you can stress out, worry about all this. I'm like, hey, man, not me. I'm here until my 10-hour shift is done, and then I go home. So,
yeah.
You have a great day now.
That's right.
But it's interesting too, because it's a guy as brilliant as yourself, and it's like something that you knew. You didn't even use a calculator. You nailed it all 100%, and it just kind of goes to show the power of the human mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was an incredible, powerful lesson for me, because I really understood. Yes, studying is important because studying helps you to have confidence and helps you learn the stuff, get it in, right?
Yeah.
But your state of being is even more powerful than the preparation, right?
So true.
You preparation's good. Don't not prepare. Okay. But you really need to manage your state. You need to manage your state before the thing is happening, right? You just kind of on a regular basis, and then learn the techniques so you can manage yourself in the moment as well. 100%. And that's when you have the best outcome, best performance.
Well, that pretty much does it for us today, Dr. Ganz, but I definitely have to have you on, because I feel like we could probably talk for another 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 hours.
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you.
100%, man. But tell us about where they can find you. Tell us where we can get the book as well. The MeFactor, is it on Amazon and all that good stuff? But let us know all your details.
Sure. So yes, you can. It is on Amazon. It's kind of out of print right now. So like if you order it, it's going to take a while to get it. If you get the print version, the e-version is actually available on my website, and that's askdrgans.com. AskDrGanz if you're Canada, Z if you're in the States. askdrgans.com. And there's tons of other resources that you can get at askdrgans.com that you can have. And then there's also a VIP link, right? So it's askdrgansvip.com, askdrgansvip.com. And at that, you can actually get this, it's free. So you get, I put together 12 stress busting strategies that, I email like short videos to you, so you can get these 12 steps, these 12 things that you can do to look after yourself. But then you're also in my Ask Dr. Ganz program, where every month people submit questions. I look at some questions, pick up a question. Each week I answer a question, you get a video. And so you kind of get to stay in contact with this kind of like information and these little strategies and tools, practical tools to help you feel better, so you can function better and feel better and do better.
I love it, man. And just like your slogan says, down to earth advice so you can do better.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you live by that. And like I said before, before you came on today, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube as well that I saw, so I mean, all the information is there, all the resources are there. So all you guys listening, make sure you check out askdrgans.com and check out the VIP section too.
Yep, definitely go check that out. It's free stuff, you'll enjoy it.
With that being said, Dr. Ganz, you got any more closing words?
I would just remind all of us, especially as guys, right? You don't have to do it alone. Even the best athletes or, performers or whatever have coaches. They have people that have their back, right? I have my own psychologist. The best cardiologist in the world has their own cardiologist, right? I mean, we do the thing that somebody who's not us has over us is objectivity. We can't be objective into our own situation because we're in it. So having somebody else that has our back to be able to give us that feedback, extremely wise, very proactive. It's smart. And so don't think that you have to be broken or bleeding from the eyes before you get help. Do that on a proactive basis. The best defense is a good offense. If you're working on yourself, you're going to be better prepared to weather the little challenges and storms of life.
100%. I agree with you. And that being said, until the next episode, guys, stay safe, and we'll see you then. Before we get started, one more thing. If you want to get any PE gear, be sure to check out TotalManShop.com. That is TotalManShop.com. And use the promo code MHS2020. Promo code is MHS2020 and get 12% off. Be sure to check out their wide variety of all kinds of good quality PE equipment. All right? And that's promo code MHS2020 for 12% off. And the website, once again, is TotalManShop.com. You know, man.